Hey guys, what's happening? So I'm hoping everyone's had a great Memorial Day weekend. And for the record, I didn't plan for this to be a Memorial Day video, it just kind of landed here. But I did want to open up by showing love to the fallen vets, because I know a lot of you guys also have either friends or family that served. But coming back, I want to continue more of the build up for Avengers Armageddon, because we got to talk about what's been going on in Latveria since Dungeons of Doom, because there are still quite a few secrets to be uncovered over there. So with that said, if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top that says all notifications, even though it means it's going to send you most at some point in the near future. Alright, so first and foremost, I feel like we got to do a bit of a quick rundown to how we got here, with Steve Rogers and his team of mercenaries getting ready to go toe-to-toe with General Ross in Latveria. And now to explain this in a way that doesn't take us way too far back, I want to start out with Dungeons of Doom, where after Doom fell, it seemed like everyone was trying to get a piece of the power he left behind. And now aside from the island that Valeria is mainly focused on, along with her project we saw in Will of Doom, you then had the rest of Latveria going through a power struggle that's being held between three factions. True Latveria being led by a guy named Salvation, the second is called the Latverian Liberators, led by siblings Mara and Malor Sandu, and the third is the Homeland Party, led by a woman who just goes by the name of Alina. And we'll see more of all of them as this continues. And now also, going into this, we've got a new version of S.H.I.E.L.D., because in response to this new Latverian conflict, a number of countries who are part of the UN, they've come together and made a backdoor deal with Nick Fury Jr. so he could put together a team of mercenaries who would go into Latveria to make sure we don't have a Doom 2.0 getting ready to step into power. So it's these countries who are funding the new S.H.I.E.L.D. But first and foremost, the main thing Fury's focused on is getting rid of any weapons of mass destruction in Latveria, because if any of the factions get their hands on them, then the world's gonna have a much bigger problem. So to handle this, Fury hired a group of mercenaries, and he asked Steve Rogers to lead them on this mission. And then after receiving the offer from Fury to work with the new S.H.I.E.L.D., Steve immediately got a call from General Ross. And back at this time, the general was trying to line things up so he could get Rogers to go with them heading into Latveria. And he even told Steve at the time that he was getting the okay from the Secretary of State, which we saw later happen in Will of Doom. But eventually Steve ended up working with Fury and the new S.H.I.E.L.D. And this team that Fury's put together is comprised of a handful of contract mercenaries like Trevor Tambling, who used to work with Nick Fury Sr. when he needed someone outside of the old S.H.I.E.L.D. to get results. You got Charles Castlemore, who's a former Marine, who's known for following orders when they come in. Then you got Joe Ramos, who's trained with the best, used to be in the army, but he dropped down and became a free agent because he wants to choose his battles. And after that, we got the return of Red Widow. And just based on what happened during Jason Aaron's Avengers run, she's the one who Steve doesn't really trust like that. And then shortly after Steve and his team arrived in Latveria, after getting the okay from the US government in a short window of time to handle the weapons, but as soon as they got there, these guys got smacked hard by General Ross, who was already there and wanted to make it clear that the United States is going to secure Latveria. He doesn't want the new S.H.I.E.L.D. to have anything to do with it, so he just tells them to turn around and go home. And General Ross, he really doesn't have the rank to tell them to leave or make them leave, because S.H.I.E.L.D's already been approved by the US straight from the top for them to go in, get rid of these weapons, and get out. So really with Ross doing all this, it's more of an intimidation tactic, because he wants to do this his way. He's planted the US flag in Latveria, so he's here to take it. And now over in Steve's group, Charles ain't trying to go for that, because he's like, we don't take orders from you, Elmo. So he goes for the attack, and Joe follows right up with him. And you know, I can respect that, but at the same time, General Ross is a Hulk, and he don't care about what you think you saw on Disney Plus, because he ain't finna play that. And Steve already knows if he doesn't calm this situation down, somebody's gonna get killed. In between General Ross and Cap, these two are already at odds in a lot of ways, because Steve already lost his trust for the general back when he sent Steve and David Colton to Latveria in Our Secret Wars on a mission to clean up the US's dirty work. And for Ross, he'd rather strangle this new version of S.H.I.E.L.D. in its infancy than see them come to Latveria, led by Steve Rogers, as a way to kick off Secret Empire Part 2. And now when Fury steps into this for a moment to break things up, General Ross, and now anytime General Ross speaks to Fury or of Fury, he makes sure to address this guy as Fury Jr. And I mean, he is Fury Jr., but the way the general says it, it's like, okay, now I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. Because even when Fury comes here and he tells the general to stand down, at first Ross is like, I don't take orders from rent-a-cops. Then Fury tells him, you think I haven't been keeping my one good eye on you, Ross? You think I haven't been talking to your bosses back in Washington, to Secretary Brooke? You're here for observation only. You stepped one damn foot into Latveria and now have your own army dropping bombs on your giant target of a head. Then Steve comes in like, and if that doesn't work, the Avengers will gladly follow up. So the general makes sure to let Steve know that this is temporary. But if Steve steps out of line once, or drops the ball for a second, then the general will have all the ammunition he needs to come after Steve and Latveria. But given the fact that Ross can't do nothing about it now, he just starts stomping in a fit. And this just has Steve saying he's a bully. A bully who can tear a man apart. But I don't care if he can tear the world apart. I stop bullies. Let him stew, let him pace like a dog on a leash. Complete the mission. Then you can work out how to beat a Hulk. And now, as it stands, their objective is very front-facing, so it's not like they're trying to be stealthy or anything like that. And given their time restraint, they're just gonna head straight to Castle Doom, because that's where Savior, the leader of the true Latveria faction, is holding up. But when they get close, the way is blocked by a protest that's led by the woman who only goes by the name Alina, who's also leader of the Homeland Party faction. But she goes on to say here, and this is all translated from Latverian, but she says here, time is now. Democracy deferred is no democracy at all. Salvation is simply another Doom. An emperor who pretends to have your best interests at heart. If he truly intended to create free elections, why take command of Doom's castle, the very icon of monarchist rule? Why institute martial law, curfews? Why put his boot on the necks of our citizens, while telling us it's for our own good? And right here, Trevor looks at Cap like, hey, you speak Latvian? And Cap's over here looking like, oh, for sure. But now Cap tells him very little, but he can understand most of it. But in the middle of this speech, gunshots start going off. So Cap takes his team to go check it out. And when they get closer, they see it's the Latvian liberators in true Latveria exchanging fire. So Cap and the others go in to help while prioritizing the civilians first. And as Cap's shielding this lady from getting lit up, Charles spots a sniper on the nearby rooftop, and he takes dude out with one of his daggers. Headshot. So of course Steve's like, no killing, no casualties. But I'm over here like, man, I need to add Charles to my friend list and get a couple games going, see if he can get my rank up. But after hearing Steve's response, this has Red Widow asking him like, when was the last time you've been to war? Like, has it been that long? Because that's kind of part of what we got to do. And clearly neither of these other two factions are holding back, and they can care less about who's caught in the crossfire. And now eventually things start to calm down when some of these guys begin to retreat. And when one of them doesn't let up, he's soon after given no choice. And that's when we see that he was stopped by Salvation, the leader of the true Latveria faction. And now when he introduces himself to Cap, he says they were the ones who were attacked, even though this guy has a reputation for his enemies winding up dead. And now when he tells Captain America to stand down, Steve of course goes off because his men were firing in a public street with civilians everywhere. So Steve tells him like, I don't know who you think you are. And that's where Salvation's like, I am many things to many people, but I am also. And right here when he takes off his mask, he reveals to Steve that he's Marius Wolf, the same guy who over a decade ago was leading the resistance against Doom, who we saw help both Steve and David Colton, or more so the United States, in exchange for weapons. And even back then, this guy had to put a little twist on the deal. But now that the firefight's over, he invites Steve and the others into Castle Doom, and he lets Steve know before he raided the castle, most of what's in it was stolen during the events of Dungeons of Doom. Link below for the full story. But it's not long before Marius is like, okay, Captain, we've known each other for a long time. Let's cut the small talk. You're worried that I'm simply another Victor Von Doom. And he goes on saying, but I'm nothing like him. You know this. I intend to install a democratic system once we manage to squash the Latvian liberators. We can't afford to have terrorists intimidating voters. It's not as easy here as it is back in America. We have more steps to take before proper democracy will effectively work. And I will admit, the mask, the ostentatiousness, it's all to give people something they understand and fear as we lead into this transition. I've never minded being the bad guy, Steve, if it's what people need. So Steve tries to tell him it's a slippery slope, people are dying, and he's even killing his own people. But dude is just like, it's a war, a Latvian war. And you can tell just comparing what we're seeing now to what we saw in our Secret Wars. Time has changed this guy, and we'll see how much he's changed as this continues. Then from here, he gives Steve the okay to inspect the grounds. But then he's like, make no mistake, you are not Latvian. If you try to put your ways on my people, then you're out of here. And now when Charles pulls Steve to the side to have a word, Charles is like, hey man, this dude, he needs to go. Like, I know he here to find the weapons, man, but this dude reeks Doom 2.0. Don't you think it'll make Fury and Ross happy if we make sure this guy has a, an accident? And of course, Steve doesn't go for this, but hey, I can't knock Charles for asking. Now, around this time, when Fury reaches out to see if they got anything at Castle Doom, Steve is like, nope. And just based on how Salvation's allowing them to look anywhere, Steve doubts that there's anything there. And Fury absolutely agrees. But Fury goes on to give him a tip on a possible warhead site just north of them. And he's like, just switch the focus to there before the people holding these weapons know that they know, and they end up moving them. And Steve's basically like, okay, I got it. But right now, Steve's starting to get that feeling again, where it feels like the mission is spiraling. He misses home, he misses Sharon, he misses peace. or at least the memory of those things. And it's in times like this when Steve really just needs to take a moment to gather himself, so as the others go to check out the weapon site, Steve just tells him that he needs to do something first, and that he'll catch up. Because to him, after mixing with soldiers of fortune and hoax, to Steve those things are more like a distraction from why he's really here, which is for the people. So he spends a little time with the locals, and he ends up coming across a woman named Muriel. And again, his Latvian isn't great, and it takes some time for her to warm up to him, but he ends up hanging around and helping her close her shop, which leads to her offering Steve dinner. So Steve takes this opportunity to have a conversation with Muriel to find out from someone who actually lives here how she feels about these different factions in the hope of a free future for Latvia. So she starts with salvation. She's like, he's no savior. Her sister's boyfriend spoke against him, and now he's missing. And she knows it was him. And she even tells Steve here at one point that there's no voice in Latvia except for the tyrants. And it's not like she likes it that way, because when Steve asks her if there's any hope, like free elections coming, and to her if there ever is one, she doubts it'll be legitimate. And for her, and I imagine like many others here, it's not something she goes back and forth with. Because even now she's like, I don't care. I know I should, but I just need peace. And she also frames it like this whole situation with salvation pretending to be doom. It's actually more dangerous than doom, because a sharp knife is safer than a dull one, and doom was a sharp knife. So then Steve asks her if she would prefer doom after all that's happened, and Muriel tells him he was a monster, but we were safe. I know that seems like madness to an American, but your violence is almost always outside your borders. It's been too long since you've had a war that made you fear going to the market, that made you wonder if your son was coming home tonight. And you know, it's interesting hearing someone from Latvia speak this way about doom. And perhaps it's hindsight that makes him seem better, because Doom was both amazing to the people of Latvia and terrible at the same time. Like on one hand, he'll keep them protected from world-ending threats, and then the next day turn around and siphon their souls for power. But I guess at the same time, he keeps their streets safe, so it's a trade-off. But after this, Steve then asks about the Latvian liberators, and Mira tells him that she respects that they fight for the people, but many of them have become way too comfortable with violence, and she believes some of them enjoy it, like a license to commit evil acts in the name of good. And too many good people have died because of their actions. Now this leads to Mira apologizing for Steve catching her in a very jaded mood. But I also think some of this has to do with her finally hearing herself say what she's been thinking, like hearing her thoughts out loud. But Steve doesn't mind, because he needs to learn if he's going to help. So next he asks about the third and final faction, the Homeland Party. And that's where Muriel says Alina, she'll be dead by summer. I love her passion, but while she preaches non-violence, her words land like violence on those with guns and knives. It will be sad but inevitable. I only hope she becomes the martyr we need. And now it's Steve who's hoping that it doesn't come to that. He's just trying to find the best way forward. And then when Mira's son Jacob asks to be excused for dinner, she tells him to go ahead and finish his homework. She'll check on him in a bit. But when he leaves, he comes right back talking about someone in the backyard. So Steve goes to check it out, and his suspicion is that this person likely followed him. So he needs to handle this quietly, but at the same time keep Mira and her son safe. But when Steve goes to grab the dude, someone else jumps on him from behind. So Steve, he bangs that second one into the wall, and he gets ready to switch into his, I can do this all day mode. Because he wants answers. He wants to know who they are and what they want. Only for him to find out that the one he smashed into the wall is the woman he saw giving the speech earlier. The woman who only went by the name Alina, leader of the Homeland Party. And she followed him here because she couldn't just approach him in the daytime for obvious reasons. So when Steve sees her, he's like, I know you from earlier. You're giving that speech. You're Alina. And she tells him that's her. But her full name is Alina von Doom. And she's going to need Steve's help to save Latveria. And now this reveal of Doom having family out here, it's just the tip of the iceberg for the secrets that Steve's about to uncover. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. All right, later.